And welcome back to another episode of TED Talk Stamps with your host, Ted the Talking Stamp Collector. Before I get into the program, let me tell you about another YouTube channel called I'll Be Stamped. And it's hosted by a young man named Exodus Etienne Richter. Why do I mention that? Well, because he had a special guest on this week, yours truly. So, we had a nice video Zoom chat. If you'd like to eavesdrop on our chat, check out his channel at I'll Be Stamped. I have the link in the description below. Okay, so I don't have a top 10 list of my own this week. I'm still working on it. But I do have two viewer lists. One is just a top 1 and another one's a top 10. The first one comes from a viewer going by the name of Drongovision. And he just sent me one stamp from one set. And it comes from this 1961 definitive set by Bechuanaland Protectorate. And he says there's just so many reasons why he loves this set. It's simply beautiful with effort going into the design that you just don't see anymore. And within this set, his favorite stamp is the top value 2 Rand policeman on a camel. And he says that the policeman on a camel with the desert and a single tree in the background just conjures all types of images in his mind about the colony. This next list is a top 10 list, and it's submitted by Michael Dodd. Michael Dodd is one of my compatriots at the IPDA, the Internet Philatelic Dealers Association. In fact, he is the General Secretary of the organization. And if you are not a member of IPDA and you sell stamps, go ahead on over to the website, ipdastamps.com, and fill out an application. So, like I said, Michael Dodd, he also is a stamp dealer on HipStamp with me. Well, not with me, but, on his own. And the name of his shop is CDD Stamps. And I will put the link to his store down below and you can check out his offerings. So, let's take a look at his top 10 list. Starting with this one from Great Britain, issued in 1912. It depicts King George V. And this series of stamps are called Downy Heads, named after the photographer who took the photograph on which the image on the stamp was based. Next up is this one from Rhodesia and Nyasaland from 1955. It depicts a de Havilland Comet 1 flying over Victoria Falls with David Livingstone being carried on a stretcher. It's got a beautiful evocative image with brilliant engraving celebrating the discovery of Victoria Falls. Next, from the Philippine Islands, comes this one from a set commemorating the first round-the-world flight by a crew of 3 led by the German von Gronau. The overprint on the stamp shows von Gronau's flying boat. The image on the stamp shows rice fields, which Michael says that he sees a lot of in the Philippines. The next stamp, we go back again to Britain, this time for a stamp issued in 1964. Which Michael likes for sentimental reasons, but also for the impressive design. It's from the 4th Road Bridge set. Michael's father bought this for him when he was in Scotland on holiday in 1964, and he even still has a first aid cover that goes with the set. The next stamp is also from Great Britain, this time from 1967. And you'll notice a trend going through these stamps of aircraft. Michael says the first airline that he worked for was BEA, and he remembers this plane very well. Next, we come to this one from Guernsey, issued in 1940, after the Germans arrived on the island. Supplies of regular stamps were all used up, so permission was given to cut the 2-pence stamps in half for use at the 1 penny postal rate. Next is this one from Barbados from 1927, for which Michael has 3 reasons for liking it. 1, it's a beautiful design in his view. Issued in 1927 for the tercentenary of the settlement of Barbados, with nice images of King Charles I and George V. Second reason he likes it is that it's a perforation variety and a rather difficult one to find. And third, he just likes Barbados. Next comes another aircraft, this one from Korea, issued in 1979. Michael says, I lived and worked in Korea for a year, and this stamp reminds me of that wonderful time. There's nothing special about it except for the memories and the flying that I did on Korea Airlines. And next we go back to Great Britain for the famous penny black, one of those stamps one has to own, especially if you're from the UK, says Michael. He also had to have this one because of the corner letters MD, which match his own initials. Finally, rounding out Michael's list, is this one from Australia, issued in 2008, commemorating the Australian aviation industry. Michael says it's of particular interest to him as he flew many times on the A380, and most notably on the first Singapore Airlines and Qantas commercial flights. All right, a lot of nice selections from Drongovision and Michael Dodd. And again, don't forget to check out Michael's HipStamp store. Now, earlier this year, I did a couple of episodes on stamp albums, on where to find free pages online for various countries, and programs for making your own albums. And I went over other things like stamp mounting tips and hacks that I use, and talked a little bit about album paper. Since those episodes, I've gotten other comments from people just wanting me to go into a little more detail, so that's what I'm going to do in this program. So first up, I'll talk about the paper. Now, in the past, paper making was a very acidic process. There was acidic bleaching solutions used to brighten the paper, and the sizing used was an acid rosin sizing. Sizing is a filler that's put in with the pulp to increase the strength of the paper as well as the stiffness. Since the 90s in the US and even earlier in other countries in Europe, the paper process has gone to an alkaline process in which the sizing is calcium carbonate, precipitated calcium carbonate. And as years pass, even more filler is being used, this calcium carbonate filler, because it is so much cheaper than the pulp itself. And this calcium carbonate is, of course, alkaline. It has a high pH. Another side effect of using the calcium carbonate sizing was that the paper making machinery lasted longer, because the acidic processes just rusted out the machinery, and it was a very costly procedure. Now the machines last a lot longer, and the manufacturing process is cheaper, and the papers are much wider, they're much more opaque, they're nice and smooth. So really, paper it's not hard to find acid-free paper. It's everywhere now. Even on this Walmart brand printing paper, nowhere on it will you see the words acid-free. But when you look on the website and look at the details of the product, they're right in the middle. It says acid-free paper, resists fading and yellowing. So as you can see, acid-free paper is just so common these days that they don't even feel it necessary to notate it on the packaging anywhere. Again, as I noted in the earlier videos, my preferred paper is this Staples brand. Staples is the name of an office supply store, so that's their private store brand. So you can find this on Amazon, but you won't find it in Walmart or Costco. But you will find similar ones. It's it's very common that this ivory color, as you can compare it to the regular copy paper, which is very white. This has a nice creamy yellow tint. And I used a 32-pound paper, but now the pound designations can be confusing because there are different types of paper. There's bonded paper, there's bond paper, there's cover stock, a couple other types too, which all have different references for their pound designations. So what you really want to go by is the 120 G/m squared. That means it's 120 grams per square meter. You take a piece of this paper that was 1 meter by 1 meter in dimensions, and it'll weigh 120 grams. That is the paper weight definition that you can compare apples to apples, no matter what type of paper it is, cardstock, bond, whatever. Now, some people prefer heavier stock. Let me grab a sheet out of here. And while it is quite noticeably thicker and stiffer than your regular printer paper, a lot of collectors still think it's too thin for their albums, and they like the something like this, which is 67-pound cover stock. Now, like I said, this was 32-pound. This is 67-pound. They're not comparable. You got to go by the gram weight, and this one is 148 grams per square meter, and it is more definitely like thin cardstock. And you can see how the my preferred paper, the 32-pound, you see how it sags, whereas this one is stiffer and stays more upright. Because it is so thick, it just feels like I'm turning cardboard pages in my album. And not only that, it is noticeably thicker, and your albums fill up quicker with fewer pages and be heavier. So, in a nutshell, my preference is the 120-gram laser paper. If you feel that's too thin for you, then go to cover stock that's rated at 148 grams per square meter. Next, I've had a couple of questions about binders, the actual albums that the pages will go into. Now, binders are a sticking point with me because I think they're one of the most overpriced pieces of merchandise anywhere. I'm not going to buy any of the ones produced by stamp supply manufacturers. I mean, they're just crazy prices. 50 bucks, and then you spend another 30 bucks for the slip case. Give me a break, huh? So, like a lot of you, I just gone the cheap route and gone to Walmart or Office Depot and gotten the plastic 3-ring binders for $4 bucks a piece. The problems with those, though, as I'll show you here. This is a binder I used to have for my album, and then just switched it over to holding the Scott catalog pages that I buy off of Chiroc MD on eBay. The individual country pages. Anyways, let's not get into that. So Problems with those cheap binders are they're cheap. As you can see here, that bent. You see all this tape. They just start falling apart within a year, and you have to uglify them with all this tape to keep them together. I went to Hobby Lobby, and got these big 3-inch binders, padded binders. Look, it looked like it might be quality. They put, it's got stitched vinyl covers and the metal reinforced corners. But take a look at this. Within a year, that vinyl is just disintegrating and peeling away. Up here on this corner. So, no bueno. I think I finally found my solution though with these. These are cloth bound photo albums or scrapbook albums that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. And you can find them on their webpage. Look up Black Cloth 3-ring scrapbook album. The normal price is $19.99, but Hobby Lobby always has sales going on. And like right now, they're only $9.99, which to me is like the bargain of the century, because so far, I mean, I've only had these few months this year. I bought these this year, and but I don't see any signs of wear. There's no fraying threads, no bend. This is a solid. It's probably some kind of particle board, but it's not that wimpy cardboard that's inside that other binder I showed you. And it's got the type of cover where the goodness gracious, where the spine folds down also. So that makes it a lot easier to close the album without having to get the pages to come down, you know, into the center on the rings. So this album, this binder, I really like. Like I said, check it out on Hobby Lobby. $9.99. Can't be beat. Okay, last thing I want to talk about are stamp mounts, or rather stamp mount alternatives. Well, actually stamp mounts too, because here's what I want to talk about. Show guard mounts. As you're probably familiar with show guard, they're also called split back mounts. They have a clear cover, a black background, and then a split down the middle where you stick the stamp in and you enclose it in the mount. Now, these are all fine and dandy, but the thing I hate about them, you have to buy so many different sizes, and you're going to spend a lot of money just buying a lot of sizes that you hardly use. So let's see, there's 24 millimeter size, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, on up to 50, 63 millimeter, and that refers to the height of the stamp. Now, one thing I've done lately now to kind of reduce my inventory of different sizes, and it can also save you money. It can be more economical. I showed you this humongous size. This is like a 108 millimeter size. Now, actually, I found it was like this, I don't know, So what you do is you can just stock up on one large size, and then for any particular stamp, what you do is you take these humongous ones and you cut them in half the long way. Get your, turn it over where I can see the slit. So I just cut that 108 millimeter mount into two 54 millimeter mounts. These are now, I have now created a Howard mount. Howard, H-A-W-I-D. That's a style of mount that is not split back. It opens from the top. It just opens from the top. You slip your stamp in, and boom. Easy peasy. So when you go to buy show guard mounts, you'll notice that the 25 millimeter, 30 millimeter, 35, 40 are all the same price, and they all have something like 22 strips in them. So what you do, let's say it's 22 strips for $8.95. I don't even know offhand how much they cost right now. But what you do is you buy the largest mount that costs $8.95 for 22. Because once it gets past a certain size, I think it's like 63 millimeters, it'll go up. And then when you go to 65, 70 millimeter and larger, then you only get 15 or 10 strips for that same price. So you buy the, like I said, the highest, the largest mount that you can buy within a certain price category. And then, so like I said, the smallest category is say $8.95 for 22, and I think that goes up to 63. And then, so you buy as many 63 millimeter show guard mounts as you might need for now and the future. Just stock up on them, and then you split those down the middle, and you will have 31.5 millimeter size stamps. Now, of course, there are plenty of stamps that are taller than 31 millimeters, so you're going to need the larger one. So you go up to the next price level, and then you find the largest stamp mount at that price range for and quantity, and you buy those. And I think those were probably the 108s. That's probably why I have them. That'll be a 54 millimeter mount after you slice it. 54 millimeters, that'll cover just about, you know, of stamps anyways, not counting blocks or souvenir sheets. That'll cover most of your needs. Just two sizes is all you need then for all your stamps. Now for larger items, your larger blocks, your where'd my stamps go? Your typical US mini pane of stamps. This was a Sun Science pane. You can buy show guard mounts for those also, but now we're talking expensive. It requires a mount that is, well, of course, that big too. And one problem is you're not going to find them in exactly that size. So you'll probably end up with a mount that, you know, with maybe bigger margins than you want or whatever. But like I said, they're also very expensive. for show guard mounts that will fit the Sun Science panes, I checked on the website iHob. Where are we? Okay. It's crazy. A package of 3 mounts will be $6. Can you imagine $2 to mount this pane? For a larger pane, like this Miles Davis pane, see how much larger it is. For the size that will fit Miles Davis, that costs $17 for 5 mounts. That's $3.40 each, and not counting shipping. So what do? Here's my solution. Mylights 2. What are Mylights 2, huh? These are protective sleeves, also called comic bags. Called bags because back in the 80s when bagging and boarding comics really caught on, they used polyethylene bags, which were pretty wimpy and floppy, and they were like bags. Now they're stiffer and stronger, and it's more like just a sleeve for the comics. This is what I use for my larger items now. These are made of Mylar, which is an archival material. Your stamps will last 100 years at least, 200 years or more. There's no pollutants are getting through this material to your stamps. The 2 in Mylights 2 means that they are, each sheet is 2 mils thick. That's 2/1000th of an inch, which doesn't sound like much, but Mylar is a pretty strong material. And these come in various sizes. Not a huge difference in the sizes, because they fit comic books of different eras. They had the golden age of comics back in the 30s and 40s, when comic books were much larger. And in the 60s, they reduced them in size during the so-called Silver Age. And then even later, I guess maybe the early 80s, they reduced the size of comics more to the current size. So as you can see here, the line up this edge on here, and you'll see that this is a little bit narrower. That's a golden age and a silver age size, and then the current size comics are even a little narrower. And they work great, because also for smaller ones, for even for smaller items like souvenir sheets and blocks, there's paperback bags, polypropylene, and polypropylene is a very good storage material also. Back in the day when they started with these comic bags, they were made of polyethylene, and polyethylene is no good. Within a few years, polyethylene bags are turning yellow and ruining your comics or books. And I was checking latest pricing on Amazon for polypropylene bags, and I was surprised to find someone actually selling polyethylene bags. Well, you know, I'm not a verified buyer, but I left a review, and I said, what are you doing selling polyethylene bags for? That stuff's no good. It costs the same as polypropylene, but it's no good. So these polypropylene paperback sleeves are great. With my hands, so I got my white cotton gloves. Got these off of Amazon. It said one size fits all. One size barely fits me, and I don't have the world's largest hands. Now, I'm not small-handed, but still. If you got large hands, don't get them. So, these I'm not going to say perfect, but quite adequate for my needs. I don't care about this big margin up here. It's not like with show guard mounts where you like to get nice even margins around there. You know, you can trim off this excess. Let me do that. Well, I won't do that. And then it's ready for mounting on your album page. Now, what do you use to mount them? Good question. Found these off of Amazon. These are acid-free double stick mounting squares. Let's see if I can show you what they look like here. It's a ribbon. Come on out. All right. You got this roll of tape, but they're already segmented into the individual mounting squares. So, oh, here we go. So let's say you rip one off. You peel off the white backing. That's the toughest part. It comes off the blue backing real easily. Stick it in the corner. Do that 3 more times. And then pull off the second backing, which I can't do right now. And then just stick it to your album page. If you want a black background, just go pick up a package of black paper from Hobby Lobby or Office Depot, and then you could cut it to size to fit behind the souvenir sheet, or just mount this on your album page and mount this to the black background. I would prefer to just put the background in the sleeve with the souvenir sheet, and there you go. Oh, here I found an old style polyethylene bag. You can see it's not even very clear, yet their packaging would say crystal clear. No good. So, all right, I showed you. Oh, and another good thing about the polypropylene bags, and even the comic size ones, if you want to get those, is they're cheap. A pack of 100 of these paperback book size bags, I just saw today, is $8.88 with shipping. So less than 10 cents. Less than 10 cents amount for your souvenir sheets. Now, big sheets like this, even they're too big even for the Mylar 2. What I used for that were these magazine size polypropylene bags. And This is the natural width of the Polypro bag, and the Miles Davis pane fits in there perfectly. Yeah, of course you trim off the excess off the top of the bag, and you have a nice little mount for this pane that only cost 15 cents. Now if you want to spend over $3 for a show guard mount, you're welcome to, but I'd rather spend 15 cents and buy a few more stamps. And if even the Mylar 2 are too expensive for you, because wow, yeah, let me tell you, I looked up the prices today, and I was shocked, I tell you. It was $50, well, $48.99 for a pack of 50. So that's a dollar a piece. Still cheaper than the show guards at $2 or $3 per mount. And then I looked up my old order for the last time. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I ordered the Mylar 2. But at that time, where's my notes? At that time I paid $46 for 150. That works out to 31 cents each. So in the 2 or 3 years since I last bought the Mylar, they've more than tripled in price. Crazy, isn't it? So like I said, if the Mylar are even too expensive for you, buy the polypropylene comic bags, and get the largest one that you can find, the Golden Age size, or not. They're cheap enough where you can buy the golden, silver, and current comic book size. And this was $9.95, so paying 10 cents a piece for, where are you, Miles? For a mount that'll cost you $3 from Showguard. Now I know stamp stores are as scarce as hen's teeth these days. Comic shops are different. They've really proliferated the past few years, and you can just pop into your local comic shop, ask them for some Polypro comic bags. Oh, and then there's one more thing. For stamp storage. For stamp storage, yes, the most common thing, right, is you order stamps from a dealer and they come in these 102 cards. Sales cards are what they're called. And if you're a dealer or if you're a collector who uses these cost really more than they should also. If you buy these in bulk, they'll cost, you might be able to find them as low as 5 cents a piece. It'll probably be more, especially if you have to order them from online, because the shipping costs will really jack the price up. So now what I've turned to is these baseball card sleeves. These are polypropylene also. They're also known as penny sleeves because you buy 10 packs of these at a time, or 1,000. They come in packs of 100. You can buy these for $9.99 post-paid, a penny a piece. And I use these for all my inventory for my HipStamp store. Another advantage, if you're selling online, is that these penny sleeves are lighter weight than the cards, and you'll be able to get more stamps in to an order without going up to the next postage level. And it's convenient for examining the backs of the stamp. You got the front, you got the back. All right, so I guess that about covers it. I think I covered all the points I wanted to. If there's anything I missed, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will get back with you with an answer. So once again, thanks for joining me, and this is Ted the Talking Stamp Collector wishing you all happy stamping.